right. Welcome to Hello Chaos, the unfiltered podcast for founders, kind of in the messy middle. No fairy tales here, just the real the real grind, the grit, and chaos of what it takes to build a business, to build an organization, whether you're for profit or nonprofit. Today we have on our show Matt Olin. He is the co founder and chief community officer of Charlotte is Creative and co founder and publisher of The Biscuit. Welcome to the show, Matt.
Thank you for having me, Jennifer. I appreciate the ask.
Our little neighbors just north of us in Charlotte. I love
A
it.
mere 90 minutes. I mean, a hop, skip, and a jump away.
Right. Where are you in Charlotte? Just curious of
We
you.
live near Independence Boulevard, kind of the south side of Charlotte,
Okay.
which is it's an old Charlotte neighborhood, lots of trees,
Yeah.
but within striking distance of so much that goes on in Charlotte, and there is so much happening in Charlotte.
So you're near like the South Park area and
Yeah. If you know
okay.
Charlotte, we're sort of between South Park and Independence Boulevard, kind of in that
Oh,
area.
I have driven through there. I have two clients that are over in the South Park area, and I think I drive through an
Yeah.
older neighborhood that is all tree lined. It's beautiful. So I have probably been
I'll
right
be
in
sure to
your
save you
hood.
next time. Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, start us out. Tell us how did Charlotte is Creative? What was the inspiration? How did that get born? And, your entrepreneurial journey, just like
Sure.
get us started.
Yeah. I mean, so my co-founder, Tim Miner, and I sort of refer to ourselves as the accidental philanthropists or the accidental nonprofit founders. So, and we do run Charlotte is Creative. That's our nonprofit. But to go back in the Wayback Machine here, I grew up in Charlotte doing theater. I went to the Children's Theater of Charlotte. I just fell in love with the art form of theater. And that was the first half of my career. Studied it in college, went up to New York, worked on Broadway shows, off Broadway, national tours, regional theater, things like that. A little bit in Charlotte as well. And just loved being in that world. The thing about theater, of course, is that sometimes it
Mhm.
pays the bills and sometimes it doesn't. So along the way, I was always a good writer, and English was one of my majors in college. So I started a freelance copywriting business, and that's how I would keep the money rolling in
Right.
during the dry times. So I'm really grateful for that because freelance copywriting was a way that I was able to sustain myself through the ups and
Right.
downs of a theater career. And that informs our work now too. I think communication is a big part of operating any sort of organization
Yeah. Yeah.
or company. So yeah, long story short, eventually my journey led me back to Charlotte, and my buddy Tim and I decided, let's see what happens when we start gathering the creative community together in Charlotte. What sort of magic
Okay.
could be
Yeah.
unleashed? Yeah.
So when you talk about creative community, is it like is it more theatrical creativity or is it hitting the reason I ask because Greenville has such a great creative community as well of visual artists and but people that work in agencies of videographers and photographers and sketch artists and animators, but
Yeah.
also copywriters and
Yeah.
storytellers. So is it a broad creative community, or is it really just focused on the roots of the
We subscribe to the broadest definition of creativity that you could possibly imagine. And yes, some of my old friends and colleagues from the theater and music worlds are in there too. But man, we try to get our arms around the entire creative ecosystem here,
yeah
all disciplines, all of it. I mean, that's the thing. A lot of our creative convenings that we do in Charlotte doesn't just have, vocational and avocational creatives and artists in the audience, but just people that love the creative spirit of our city
right
as well. So it's a very broad stroke that we're using here, and really trying to use it as a way to gather really the full community together around this idea that Charlotte is a creative
is a
community.
creative is so when you came back to Charlotte, was it like a gap, was it like a or that you saw happening, or was this more of like a natural like inertia inside of like I need to be around more creative people?
Yeah,
What was the pull?
it was definitely the latter. I mean, the truth is Charlotte is a supremely creative city. It's just never been a headline.
Yeah.
Charlotte's known as a banking town, a great place to
Yeah.
raise a family. You're close to the mountains and the beach and blah, blah. And all that's true and all that's great. But the headline had never included this fact that we are also a deeply creative city. There have been artists and creatives that have been keeping the pilot light burning and sort of building that momentum for decades and decades here. What we were interested in doing is starting to shift the narrative so that this idea that Charlotte is creative is actually as big of a headline as Charlotte is a great banking,
Right.
financial center as well.
Right.
So it was really that was a big part of the impetus. There was something in the water back in 2015 when we launched this 10 years ago that people needed. They wanted to gather together. They wanted to be together. And then, selfishly, Tim and I both are raising girls, and we kind of like the idea that our daughters might grow up to say, Charlotte is a really cool, creative place.
Right.
Maybe I'll move back there or whatever. I mean, part of it's trying to that stickiness of Charlotte, trying to get that in place too.
Was that an easy kind of theme line or whatever to get out there? Did you get support from like Visit Charlotte, economic development people to go, "Ooh, I like what you're doing. We want to support you"? Was it
Yeah,
kind of
we got a real wave of support early on. There were naysayers. Our first project that we rolled out was the Charlotte chapter of Creative Mornings, which is a global community, but we decided to start by relaunching the Charlotte chapter and gathering hundreds of people together every month. And we had some naysayers saying, you're going to run out of creative speakers in the next year or two. And we're like, we'll see about that. We're 10 years in and we have a list as long as my arm of people we want to get on that stage.
yeah,
But yeah, lots of companies as sponsors and even like CRVA and civic partners really saw what we were doing. They kind of saw the sort of lightning in a bottle that we were capturing. And they were very aligned in the sense that they understood, like, this idea that Charlotte is a creative city, that's the sort of reputation you want to put out there.
yeah,
When you look at materials that, let's say, the city or pseudo governmental agencies are using to sort of attract headquarters to Charlotte,
right,
those materials are covered in murals and other expressions of art and creativity. You're not putting, hey, here's how many Chipotles and ATMs
right.
we have in Charlotte.
Or just a guy behind of a desk, looking at his computer.
Yeah, yeah. So in many ways, I kind of love this idea that Charlotte's growth is being fueled by the
Right.
creative spirit of our city and all the creative talent that's here. The next step is making sure that those artists and creatives are being supported and valued at
Yeah.
that level.
So
And
they
that's a
stay
lot of the work that we're
and to
doing.
keep them, yeah, to keep them fed.
Keep them
So
fed and keep them here.
and
Yeah.
keep them here, right? Retention.
It is creative retention. That is exactly right.
Well, congratulations. I just read, 2015, that means this year was your big milestone of 10 years. I mean, that's incredible. So I hope
Yeah,
you
we're
celebrated that win.
well, we're sort of. I mean, we may be a lagging by a year, but we're celebrating the kickoff of our 10th anniversary year this December.
Okay.
So we probably should have started it last year, but better late than never, I
That's
guess.
right. That's right. It's got it, but you at least acknowledge it and celebrate. So, what does creative or Charlotte is creative? Is it? I know it's a nonprofit, but like, what is it? You guys gather, do events like once. You said that you do like a morning, was it a monthly like morning session? Like, what does the organization provide?
Yeah, so we work in a couple of different. Our programs fall into a couple of different buckets. One is
Yeah.
knowledge and training. We have a cornerstone program called the Creative Entrepreneurs Initiative that really is designed to teach artists and other creatives small business skills and sort of
Love
entrepreneurial
that.
thinking and making sure that if you want to earn some or all of your income through your creative craft, that you're thinking about it
Right.
like a business person, like an entrepreneur, and that you know some of that language. I mean, if you're going to do that in a business town, you should be able to speak some of that business
Right.
language. So, providing a lot of those resources, both from a knowledge standpoint, but also from a social capital standpoint, that is social capital very likely the greatest untapped resource in our community in terms of people building their businesses and their organizations. So we create a lot of convenings whereby folks can come together and exchange social capital to help lift each other up. So that's a big part of what we do. And then the other bucket really is sort of community building and convening. And so whether that's Creative Mornings Charlotte or some of our smaller events like Coffee with Creatives. We have larger events like Makers and Creators, which is a gathering of younger creatives. Heck, we help produce an event called FOMO Night that happens quarterly. We had 10,000 people come to FOMO Night last week.
my gosh.
So we have events.
All just from Charlotte?
Yes, yes, all from Charlotte. Yeah, I mean, I think there
Wow.
were folks that traveled
That
here from
traveled it, but
another way too, but so that convening is key. Bringing the community together where they can meet fellow collaborators, be reminded that they're not creative in isolation, that they're part of a
right.
community. And whether we're doing our 15-person coffee with creatives or our 10,000-person FOMO night, you can see the sort of wide variety of convenings that we do all year long.
Right. Oh, that's incredible. 10,000 people. Again, that's another win and a milestone
Yeah,
for you.
it kind of blew our hair back, that's for sure.
So you guys did like what was were you guys expecting like a couple thousand and 10,000 people
Well,
showed up?
one of my teammates, Michaela Benter, is one of the sort of architects of the program, along with some other community partners here in Charlotte. And we've done a handful of these over the last year or two, and it's grown. Right, we've gotten 1,000, and then 2,000, and then
Right.
4,000, and so I think you start to see that momentum building. I don't know if we necessarily expected 10,000, but
Yeah.
we were ready for it, and it happened. And
That's
so
fantastic.
it's pretty thrilling.
What do you think is the secret to that momentum of, being in the space? Because nonprofit is hard, especially, post COVID, it got even harder, or actually because of events and kind of the the gala, all that stuff kind of. So, here you're kind of boomeranging back and seeing that. What's been the secret, or what can you pinpoint like an aha of this is why we're it climb?
Well, I can tell you from Charlotte's creative's perspective that when COVID, in 2020, when COVID started, there were a lot of people that were restricting, they were tightening up, they
Yeah.
were hunkering down. And we made a conscious decision to kind of do the opposite. We said, you know what, we're going to reach out. We're going to reach out to the people that have supported us all these years. We're going to say, not, hey, we're struggling, we're scared that we're going to lose funding, we're scared that we're going to
Right.
close. We actually reached out and said, how can we help you? How can we help you during this challenging, unprecedented time, as we've heard over and over again? And I think that is part of the magic, or the sort of cosmic tumbler that fell into place to say, here's how we're going to endure through COVID. Here's how we're actually going to continue to grow as an organization during COVID. Even when we can't gather in person, we will keep doing our monthly events online, on Zoom, and push the limitations of the online convenings. So I think that was a big part of it. And just continuing to stoke that fire, that just because we're going through a pandemic doesn't change the fact that Charlotte is an incredibly creative city, that we need to keep coming together and collaborating, and that we will get to the other side of this and hopefully emerge stronger and better as a result of the creative energy, that's here.
And then as you have kind of journeyed through being a founder, co-founder, what did you discover most about yourself?
Yeah. Well, I love collaborating. I love being on a team. It's interesting. Like I'm an identical twin. So I've always been a part of a set, right? Like I've never been by myself largely out in the world. And I just have come to accept this about me, right? I've done a lot of individual work, but given the choice, I will always prefer to collaborate with someone. Is this me trying to fill the void of my identical twin off doing his
Right.
work in higher ed? Who knows? But I don't know. There was something about these different twists and turns in the circuitous journey that I've been on that sort of has really driven that home. Like, I
Right.
want to work with people. I want to create with people. I want to be on a team. I want to collaborate.
Right.
And that was a, big aha for me over the years.
And how is it going with co-founder and that partnership, because that also that takes some discipline and work there. How have you guys um fueled that or invested in that relationship or boundaries or whatever what do you think is the success there?
Well, part of it, and we're in a somewhat of a unique situation in that Tim and I have known each other since high school. We actually
Okay.
met in an audition line for a play in high school here in Charlotte. And we've been trying to cut each other up and make each other laugh, ever since. So we've always been friends. We've collaborated in lots of projects over the years. Ended up going to college together. Here's a crazy thing. I go to Chapel Hill the year before Tim. The next year, because he was a year behind me, Tim enrolls in Chapel Hill and randomly gets put in the suite next to me. If you think
Wow.
about how many dorm rooms are at Chapel Hill. So
Right.
that to us was the sign the universe is saying, y'all aren't done yet. we're going to throw you back together. You're going to keep doing things. And here we are 35 years later, still building, still creating. And
That's
so,
incredible. Yeah.
but here's the thing, Jennifer, like you can be the best of friends, but when money's on the line,
That sounds like that stuff gets tough.
it gets tough. It gets tough. And so we've had to be very, very intentional about making sure that we sort of keep the friendship
Mm.
going, remind each other of our origin story. Just the other day, we came down to Greenville, just the two of us, for a day. We rented an Airbnb. Sounds very romantic, but it was meant to be a founders retreat. The two of us saying, hey, we're busy. We have a million things going on, but we are going
Right.
to carve out 24 to 36 hours to go away and actually do some envisioning together, have some fun together. And so you got to be super intentional about that because,
Yeah.
otherwise the busyness will just sweep it all away.
And I think that's, that's a good insight there of when we work with companies, it's amazing how people, especially owners, I know it gets busy, but we always say you got to make time to plan. You got to take a step back and just think and and also be with and surround yourself with people that are going to question things and push on things. What other than kind of doing this annual retreat, are there other disciplines or tools that you guys use of hey, once a month we do this or weekly we do this that kind of ensures the that you guys are intentionally focused on things together?
I will say that one of the things we do, I mean, certainly we have our planning meetings and weekly
Right.
check-in meetings and things like this, but I would say that the thing that comes to mind when you ask that question is that we encourage each other to stay in tune to their own creative desires. So, for example, our program director, Setu Raval, has a career in film and running film festivals in LA. She's on our team now, which we're so grateful for. And she is the board chair of the Independent Picture House here in Charlotte, which is kind of our art house here in
Yeah.
Charlotte. And so that keeps her, connected with her love of film. And it's separate from her job at Charlotte as creative. I am a sort of a sloppy rock and roll keyboard player. I love playing the piano. And so I created a little program called One Band where we pull our musicians together every couple of months and we learn these songs and we do one rehearsal and one performance and then we
Right.
disband forever. So that's a fun way for me to stay and sort of remind myself on an ongoing basis, oh, this is why I love art. This is why I love music, is because,
Right.
it makes me feel a certain way. So that's one thing that sort of keeps us fired up, keeps us inspired, and keeps things kind of fun and joyful.
Yeah. So as you start, doing the self-discovery process, are there things that you're, and you're starting to develop the team, are there things that you discovered about yourself that you really like about yourself that you wish other people recognized more of you? Or maybe it's something that you're, Tim is like, people don't know this about you, Matt. Like, do you have any of those moments of, yeah, I don't know why people don't see this about me?
Maybe this goes back to being an identical twin, but I would say that I've learned about myself that I have a pretty collaborative leadership style. Like I like to sort of let people have their opinions and thoughts and ideas heard. Often I will defer to someone else's idea, right? I'll be like, you know what? Let's go with that. This is not a
I
hill
want to
I'm
be
willing to die
amenable.
on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So maybe this is people pleasing. Maybe this is collaborative leadership. Hard to say. We could segue into a therapy session if you
That's
want.
right.
But yeah, it's funny. I was talking to Sethu the other day about this. I said, "Have you noticed this about me that a really good argument can easily sway me to the other side of a debate? Like I'd be like, no, this is the way we got to do it, and someone will come in and say, you know what, I think we should do this, and I'll say, you know what, I think you're right.
That sounds right.
So I don't know. And I don't know if that's a strength or a liability, but it's definitely part of how I show up in the world for sure.
That's fascinating. And you're just discovering this like you're like, let me ask this.
I'm becoming pretty in tune to it. I'll tell you that. It's very present. It's right
It's
here.
right there. Okay, I
Yeah.
gotta. So is your identical twin in Charlotte too? Or like, do you?
No, he is in Princeton, New Jersey. He's a dean at
Okay.
Princeton University, actually.
Okay.
So he's a total slouch slacker, as you can imagine. We do try to stay connected. I mean, it is hard to be apart from your genetic clone, but
Right.
we play Wordle every day and we send each other our results. But the key is we send the result, but then you have to follow it up with a nostalgic GIF or link or something that just reminds you of something from our past. Sometimes
Right.
we'll even just drop a random phone number in there, and the only way you'll get it is if you call the number and they'll pick it up, and it's like Pepe's Pizza, night in New York, and it's like, our favorite pizza place from our childhood or something.
Yeah. Did you guys both go to UNC?
We did, yeah. My brother went to University of Dayton for a year or two, and then he transferred over to UNC as well.
Couldn't stay away from you.
Couldn't stay away, got an apartment together, we just love each other. Yeah.
So, through your journey of starting that, what has surprised you the most?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, going back to what I was touching on earlier, one of the things that really surprises me is the realization that a city's growth is very much fueled by its creative economy, its creative community, and its creative energy. But very often, the way that ecosystem is supported is completely unaligned with how much they depend on the creative energy here, right? So it's like we need Charlotte to be creative, but I don't know how much we're willing to invest in keeping them growing. So
Right.
closing that gap, closing that delta has become a huge focus of our nonprofit. But I was
Yeah.
really, when that realization kind of sunk in, I was like, oh, wow, this is our mission from now on,
Yeah.
and it was very surprising to sort of hit on that and realize that there's a big gap there that needed to be closed.
Yeah. And like you said, it's what fuels the typically, the community's economy and
That's
s
right.
and sustains it
That's
long
right.
term.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly
And
right.
so to get the attention of, I call it the economic development, agencies, a lot of times they will pay attention to like the innovation economy, but they forget that that's also fueled by the creatives are also a part of that.
That
And
is exactly
oftentimes
right.
creatives are separated out. We try to bring them in
Yeah.
as kind of our what Orange Whip kind of, we look at the innovation economy as a broader spectrum of
Yeah.
entrepreneurship, invention,
Yeah.
innovation in that way. But it's interesting that's is not held as a widely known thing.
Well, and I agree with you, and we're making headway, and we're so gratified by this. I mean, this is another very surprising thing, Jennifer,
Yeah.
is that when we started 10 years ago, it was more about, let's bring the creative community together. Let's see what magic unleashes. I
Right.
never would have thought that 10 years later that I'd be, close to the mayor, that I know a
Right.
ton of city council members and county commissioners and corporate leaders and, this sort of rooms that we have found ourselves in, sitting with Professor Raj Chetty around the study and the work that he does around economic mobility. I never would have thought that as leaders of an arts support organization that we'd be in those rooms, but those are the
Right.
rooms that we're finding ourselves in.
Right.
And that has been shocking, thrilling, a little intimidating, but it's allowed us to do a ton of really impactful work, I think, over.
Right. Well, also in connecting the purpose to what the city cares about is the economy.
They care about the economy. They care about economic mobility. If you start to get folks to realize that a creative path is a legitimate pathway to economic
Right.
mobility, then the veil starts to lift and it's a mindset shift. You start to
That's right.
see artists in a whole new way.
That's right. That's fantastic. So those were big ahas. What was the biggest big challenge, big wall that you had to face and overcome?
I mean, it has to be around development and fundraising. And I mean, I'm sure there are others, but the realization that, you know,
That's hard work.
it's hard work. It doesn't matter if you're running a for profit or a not for
Mhm.
profit. There's still a cliff there. I mean, you look out and you're like, okay, I see the resources we've got. I see that the leads that are in the works, and I can do the math and see where the cliff drops off. And how do we keep extending the cliff out further and further and further? And just that is the water we swim in right now. We are
Right.
constantly trying to extend the cliff out another year and another year and another year. And so that's been a ton of oh shit moments there,
Right.
just running the math. We're so grateful for the support we have and things are looking good for a while, but we can run the math and see the cliff. And it just means we got to keep going.
So you said that you do like a one man or a keyboard little
Yeah.
band.
Yeah.
Is there anything that's not like on your resume or like that's known that other people, our listeners, would find kind of neat to learn about you?
Well, I mean, another way my brother and I stay together is we've been writing children's books together. That's been super fun. We haven't made any traction, even though these books are fantastic. We have made no traction yet. Part of it's because we don't have the bandwidth to focus
Right.
on, working with or networking with agents or what have you. But yeah, I'm an aspiring children's book author. Who knows? Maybe that'll materialize
That's
someday.
all right. What would you be doing if you had no fears?
Wow. If I had no fears, what would I be doing? Well, I would probably be I mean, I might be traveling more. I do like to travel, but I'm also a bit of a homebody. It could be something around that, but also I think going in for the big asks too. I mean, that's part of it is if you're making the case for the value of the work you're doing, it's honestly, it's just as easy to ask for $500,000 as it is for $10,000. It's just about reframing the conversation and teeing it up correctly. I do think that swinging bigger might be something that would happen if some of those fears sort of,
Yeah.
came
Yeah.
down.
And if you look ahead, or I would say, if you got a magic wand and could change two things about the organization, what two things would you change today?
Well, I would definitely grow our staff. I mean, we have a small but mighty team of 5 doing the work
Fantastic.
of 50. So I would love to flesh out our staff into a larger, a larger workforce that could really allow everyone to not be teetering on the edge of burnout and be able to support each other with their zones of genius. So I that's one thing I would change for sure. And we can get there. It just takes raising more money to get there. The other, I think, would be to accelerate our vision. Our vision right now is for Charlotte to become known as the most welcoming and supportive community in America for artists and makers and creative entrepreneurs. And we're starting to see that reputation proliferate. We're
Right.
seeing folks from big cities in California and New York and Nashville and other places, they're moving here because they're starting to hear that Charlotte is a creative place. It's a place where you can set up shop and do your creative work and
Right.
make an impact on the city. But we have this 5-10 year vision, where it's like it's undisputable, and I'd love to accelerate that and make it happen, right now.
Right
But
now.
we
All
keep working.
right. So if we meet like a year from now, and so next fall, Christmas time, what will we be celebrating? What win would we be celebrating?
Man, yeah, we're going to be celebrating. Well, first of all, we're going to be celebrating a bunch of new grants that we've secured that just like
Right.
extend that. We're going to be celebrating our endowment that we are secure for the foreseeable future.
Fantastic. Yes, yes.
Definitely, definitely that. But also, I have this vision like I want some national press about Charlotte's creative scene rising. And we have had some of that. I was able to, thanks to our friends at CRVA, I spent some time with a writer from the Chicago Tribune, and she wrote an amazing piece about how creative Charlotte is. But I want more of that. I want to be
Yeah.
celebrating tons of stories happening coast to coast and beyond about how creative our city is. That would
Let's
be one mark of traction.
well, let's do it. We're going
Let's
to
do it.
manifest it. Put it out there.
Yeah.
Who is your biggest cheerleader besides your brother? It sounds like
I mean, honestly, I gotta say my wife and daughter, I mean, they are definitely huge cheerleaders and it's an atypical job. I'm out a lot of nights, running events and trainings and things. So they support me, emotionally and verbally, but also
right.
just saying, do it. We know
It's
what you
good.
gotta do.
You're good. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So that sort of support is huge. And I gotta say, my mom and dad too. Very lucky to have my mom and dad here in Charlotte, and they come to like for example, every creative mornings event that we've done, and we've
Wow.
done 120 or 30 of these events. They're there every month, and just to see them out there is a real gift, to be able
Yes.
to, all these years later, they supported me as a creative child, and now here they are cheering me on as a creative adult, and I mean, I couldn't ask for
It's
it.
fantastic. Kudos to them.
Kudos to them, right? They're the
Yeah.
model right there.
Exactly. So, what's the best piece of advice you either received starting this up, or something that you've learned through your process that you share. Now it's like your mantra that you share to others that want to start their own, because you are kind of creating that community of, hey, creatives, you can, open up your shop. What is the best piece of advice that you give out?
Well, right now, the mantra is connection, not perfection. Connection, not perfection. And it really was born out of that one band
That is inspiring.
program that I told you about, which again, 30 musicians sign up. It's always a random collection of people and instruments and skill levels, but we come together, we rehearse for one night, and then we put on a concert. And that's it, right? It's like in and out, it's a quick musical sprint. But what we've learned is it is about the connection. If we're connecting with each other, if we're connecting with the audience, that's all that matters. My inner perfectionist that has haunted me for my entire life,
Right.
I think the reason I launched this little side passion project was to tame that inner perfectionist, to actually create publicly a program that had a 0% chance of ever being perfect. You can't rehearse 7 songs in one night and have them be even remotely perfect. And so what happens is this new sort of source of joy where an audience comes out and is cheering you on just to get through the songs, not to hit every bridge and verse perfectly, but the win is that you just get through the songs. Even if it goes off the rails, they're cheering you on for getting back on the rails. So I don't know, this idea of connection, not perfection, I'm finding that it
I think it's
applies to
genius.
just about
Yes.
everything.
It's inspiring because it's something that I think I have that kind of fear, that block of just go for it. Just, do the ask, put it
Yeah,
out there. And for
yeah,
whatever reason, I think sometimes we get crippled
we do.
by fear.
It's a weird fear. We want to be putting our best foot forward. We want
Right.
it to be as perfect as possible. But then, the other
And then you
side of
lose the
the coin
moment.
is
You lose
you
the
lose the moment,
connection.
you lose
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
And then
So
that haunts you of,
then that
dang it.
haunts you. Yeah,
I didn't take advantage of that. That
exactly. So, this idea of just ship it. Just ship it. Like just get it out into the world. You can
right.
work on getting it more and more perfect later, but don't wait. I used to have actors when I was, fully entrenched in the theater world would come up
Right.
and say, I'm just not getting traction. And I would say, put on a show. Don't wait for a casting director to hire you. Just get out there, reserve a space,
Right.
put a show on. I've produced shows in hotel rooms, literally like anywhere I could put a show up. So don't wait. Don't wait for
Yeah.
perfection. Don't wait for the perfect time or venue or just do it.
Just do it. Everybody out there, that's great advice. Where do you go for resources? Like, or what's been a source of inspiration? Is it podcast? Is it books? Is it your own community that you brought together and just feeding off of each other? Like, where's your go-to?
I mean, it's definitely all of that for sure. It's amazing, like this community that keeps showing up. When we gather together every month at our Creative Mornings events, the first question I ask the audience, which usually has 200 or 300 people in it, is I'll say, how many people are here at a Creative Mornings event for the first time? And wholly a quarter to a third of the room raises their hands. So this source of inspiration and newfound connections, it's not a silo. Like it keeps
Right.
it's new blood churning. So that has been very, very cool. But also here at home, I mean, my wife is an avid reader, so she's constantly finding new books that are either about money or business or self improvement or whatever it is. Plus a lot of fiction, of course. But so she's like my personal librarian here.
You need to read this.
Exactly.
So, if you had to sum up your journey in one word, what word would you use?
I mean, I have to use the word messy. It has been a messy journey, very sort of all over the place. And you can all see, like, as this piece here
Uh,
behind me, which was created by 30 or 40 stakeholders in Charlotte throwing paint at a
that,
canvas.
that's great.
This is very representative of the journey that that's taken us to this point anyway. But there's beauty. There's beauty in
Hmm.
the messiness. Creativity is messy. Life is messy.
That's
Entrepreneurship
right.
is messy.
Entrepreneurship, it is messy.
It is messy. So how do we just go, okay, let's accept that, let's embrace it, and let's find the beauty and the joy in it, and it be an adventure. So messy is the word I'm going to.
That is a perfect word. Yeah, I love that. And I ask every founder and owner that comes on the show, and there's very, very little overlap, like duplication in words.
Interesting.
And I think even though I say it on like we talk about it's the messiness of messy middle, I think you're the first one that has used that word. And it
I'm
perfect
shocked, but
I know.
yeah,
It is, and I love it. Like that's one of the reasons I love doing this podcast is we all have our themes of struggle. We all kind of live in that messiness, but our journeys to get to where we are all it's a variety,
yeah,
but we
yeah.
all live the same kind of in the same struggle. So if you look to the next chapter in your journey, what word do you want to define that journey or what that chapter?
I mean, joyful, joyful. And actually, 10 years ago, when Tim and I sat down and said, okay, let's start planning our very first Creative Mornings event, we identified the words that we wanted to kind of mark the character of it. And joy was the number one word.
Yeah.
So we always are trying to bring this sense of joyfulness into our convenings and our programs. But there's always room for more joy. You can never tap out
No,
on like,
that's
oh, I
right.
have enough joy here. So
No, no.
I would love the next chapter to just be overflowing with joy. And I think
Uh,
a big source of that is going to be, making sure that our community is coming together and is as tight and supportive of each other as possible, especially these days. I think we need it more than ever.
I love it. I love it. Like it's such a connection for me because we hold workshops for executives and founders trying to find their voice because we do branding, right? We work on a brand, do a brand, guidelines, and then what we found is that founders or owners or executives get lost, and then they go, "Well, what do I write about? How do I show up?" So we created Joy Lab of how do you find joy in better understanding who you are as a leader and how do you articulate that and then how do you show up in content to whether that's in presentations or posting on LinkedIn, for so yeah, I love the yeah. You're speaking to me. We're aligned.
We are kindred spirits here for
Yes,
sure,
I
because
love it.
that is the value that I
It
think
is.
drives it.
And so I'm trying to think if I have any other questions for you. I do have a where do you think you will be going? Like I know you said here you want to, kind of have that theme line of Charlotte, is creative, kind of put that on the mark. But what is that big, I mean, how do you know when you get there other than the stories, the reporting? Do you guys have like a hey, this is our due north?
Mm, man, that is such a good, hard question. It's like because I do think it's about when we're out there connecting with each other and meeting all these people that are moving to Charlotte. I mean, 100 and
Yeah.
something, it's like 120
But it's
plus
like
people.
the Southeast, we're like booming.
We're booming. We're booming. And when you've heard enough of those stories where you're just like, it's indisputable that
Right.
Charlotte is, known as the most creative city in the country. If you want to launch a creative career or start a creative business, this city should be at the top of your list.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Maybe there's a tipping point where we've heard finally the right number of stories where like we're there.
Right.
We
Or
did it.
we're on Charlotte's on the top of every one of the lists, right?
At the
US
top
News
of
and World
all the lists.
Report, the most creative city, Charlotte. Is that
Yeah. Yeah.
like hitting it?
Exactly. And if you have trouble finding someone to say that this city doesn't support me or I can't find
Right.
my people or whatever, like if you are trying to seek those stories out and you can't find them, that's a mark too. It's like we want everyone to find their people, feel supported, not feel alone in this creative journey, and to feel like they're on their path to a fulfilling, purposeful life. Like
Right.
if you and if putting your creative work out into the world is a key part of you having a fulfilling, purposeful life, then this is the place to do it. That's what we want.
This has been such a joy for me.
Thank you. I
I
agree.
love this conversation. And before we go, though, tell people how can they learn more about what you're doing, the organization, how do they support your mission?
I mean, the two places I'll point folks are to our website, which is charlotteiscreative.com, and of course on Instagram, where we really are very, very active. CLT is creative is our handle on Instagram. And that's where folks can learn about all the work we're up to, all of our programs, how incredibly creative and active our city is. And also if they want to support us. I mean, we have micro grants called the Hug microgrant program. HUG stands for Helpful Unfettered Gift. These are $250 strings-free microgrants. We call them love
Like little
bombs.
random act of kindness, right?
It
Of
is. We
little,
call them
yeah.
love bombs of cash. Love bombs of cash. And it's just meant to remove small obstacles from a creative idea moving forward. And people can both apply for a hug grant, but they can also give a hug.
Right.
So, go to our website and learn how to give a hug and support moving a creative entrepreneur's career forward.
My goodness. That is fantastic. Thank you so much. This
Thank
was
you, Jen.
wonderful. And I know our listeners will be excited to and really connect with what you're doing. So
Thank
kudos.
you. Well, I connect with the work you're doing too, and I appreciate the invitation. And it's been a great conversation.
Absolutely. And hopefully we'll meet in person.
90
Next time you
minutes.
come down, 90 minutes. Next time you come to Greenville, or next time I'll send you a little ping and go, let's
That would
grab
be great.
coffee
Oh,
or a
I would love it.
cocktail or
Yeah, that
something.
would be great.
Yeah, let's do that. But that's a wrap on today's chaos. But the journey doesn't stop here. If you found yourself, nodding along and feeling inspired by Matt's story, please be sure to um, share, comment, give us that 5-star review on Spotify. Or you can dig deeper into our founder resources, our tools, and more episodes over at Orange Whip, and that's orangewip.com. So until next time, stay curious, stay scrappy, and remember, we are all a whip, a work in progress. See you again next week.